Good evening. Welcome to this evening's edition of the Vision Root video blog. I'm your host, Richard Urban, coming to you from historic Harpers Ferry, West Virginia. I'd like to begin tonight's installment with a scripture reading. This is from Owners of Peace, Owners of Lineage by Reverend Sun Myung Moon. Banks and the media can determine life and death in the democratic world even more than political or military power. So that's our scripture reading for tonight. Tonight's installment is Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton. Good versus evil. God versus Satan. That's the topic for tonight. I'd like to start with the clip of Donald Trump at a rally on November 4th. So let's watch this clip right now.
This is for my son, Riley. We are from South Amboy, New Jersey, a very small Democratic town. We are registered independents. We vote for the person, not the party. My son, Riley, was killed Memorial Day weekend coming home from the Jersey Shore on the Garden State Parkway. My son was a late-in-life menopause baby, a gift from God. He was only 19 years old and my only son. I have 3 wonderful daughters. Riley loved Mr. Trump. He was obsessed with Mr. Trump. When there were 17, Riley said, Mr. Trump is the nominee. When there's one nominee, Mr. Trump, Riley said, Mr. Trump will be president. In Riley's obituary, Mr. Trump was mentioned because Riley loved or loves Mr. Trump. Riley's funeral was over 200 cars. He has very dedicated friends. There were signs, buttons, flags for Mr. Trump. Riley's grave marker has Mr. Trump's name on it along with the Statue of Liberty because he loves America. Richie Schneiderite, a very good friend of my son's, wrote Mr. Trump a letter expressing all about my son and asked Mr. Trump if he could just mention my son Riley on the campaign trail because it would mean so much to my son. When Mr. Trump received the letter, he tweeted, "God bless Riley Roan," and a motorcycle group put on Facebook they were donating a brick with Riley's name on it for the wall. When Mr. Trump received the letter, he wrote us a very heart-moving personal letter regarding family and Riley. We never expected to hear from Mr. Trump. We don't know Mr. Trump. He doesn't know us from Adam. He does now. Within weeks of the letter, we received a phone call from his office asking would we take a phone call from Mr. Trump. We were watching Fox News, and Mr. Trump was in Florida. He was sweating profusely in an airport hangar, complaining of 114-degree weather. We watched him leave the stage, and within minutes, our phone rang. It was Mr. Trump. He's amazing. He spent a good amount of time on the phone with us, and it was very personal. I'm not going to share what we said, but I will share. Mr. Trump said if it cost millions, and he would give everything he owned if it would bring my Riley back. What kind of man is this? What kind of man who is running for the highest office in our land, the President of the United States, takes out the time from his campaign to call us? God does bless us.
Here's a clip of Mrs. Clinton at a rally on November 5th. Let's watch that.
As your Secretary of State, I traveled to 112 countries. I stood up for human rights, women's rights, worker rights, and LGBT rights. I have spent my career fighting for kids and families, and if you elect me, that's what I'll keep doing.
So here in these two videos, we see the contrast between the campaigns. Mr. Trump is a passionate person and a compassionate person. So he found out about this woman whose son was killed and really honestly helped her. And he's helped many people. He doesn't go around talking about it. Many, many people. Look it up if you don't believe me. Privately. And then here you have Mrs. Clinton spouting the same old stuff. Human rights, that is, unless it's a baby who's even 9 months old the day before they come out of the womb, that's okay to kill that baby or any other baby in the womb. Women's rights, unless it's women in Saudi Arabia where she took tens of millions of dollars from who can't even drive cars. Workers' rights, okay, well, I'm in West Virginia. She said she would shut down all the coal mining. Oh, okay, oops. LGBT rights, oh my gosh, totally for, same-sex marriage and all of that. The same old tired agenda. So I also want to contrast some much more even startling things just came out in the emails released by WikiLeaks. So we find out that John Podesta, who's Mrs. Clinton's campaign chairman, was invited to what is called a spirit cooking dinner. And what this is, spirit cooking is actually a satanic ritual. This is real. Look it up if you don't believe me. Although all the media, as I said in the quote today, is not covering this, the mainstream media, but it's real. So spirit cooking is a satanic ritual. It was founded by the Church of Satan founder, Aleister Crowley. They take blood, semen, urine, they dump it, menstrual blood, dump it on the effigies of children. And this is supposed to be art, so cool. But actually it's a spiritual ritual, a satanic spiritual ritual. So this is the kind of thing Mr. Podesta is into. In his office, and I'm going to put this picture up right now, he has a picture of two men eating another man, cannibalism. And then it surfaced in the other emails that they were ordering cryptic language for child sex abuse. They're ordering hamburgers and hot dogs. I don't think they're ordering hamburgers and hot dogs. That means they're ordering little boys and little girls. And it surfaced that they were inviting these children over for entertainment in a hot tub. Mr. Podesta. Well, is there any other basis for thinking that there's incredible sexual corruption, child abuse, and even child trafficking tied in with Mrs. Clinton, with Mr. Clinton, with John Podesta? Well, Mr. Clinton was on the so-called pedophile island in the Caribbean 26 times. Mrs. Clinton, it just came out, was there herself some 6 times, where they had underage girls for sexual pleasure of the patrons. One of the frequenters was, of course, Mr. Clinton. And talking about women's rights, if you remember in our previous video, We talked about how Mrs. Clinton hired FBI agents to harass, hound, threaten the women her husband had sexually molested or raped, some women's right person. So when I say, good versus evil, God versus Satan, I'm talking literally. Literally. It was kind of interesting. I was going around the neighborhood giving out scorecards to promote people to understand about the election. And then this woman says, I says, Hillary Clinton's evil. She says, she's the Antichrist. And I said, oh my gosh. Yeah, and that's right. She is. She really is that type of person. So I mean, you have to look at what's at stake here. Review the kinds of people on in the campaign, the kinds of people they're associating with. Then you have Huma Abedin, the lady who's basically a Saudi agent, who is Mrs. Clinton's top aide at State Department. Mrs. Clinton's aide right now, who's ex-husband, I guess she's divorced, to Anthony Weiner, is involved in the sexting scandal. So you really have to see there's really this web of bad sex, and not just bad sex, but of sexual deviance, of Satanism, and these things are coming out more and more. A lot of people probably don't want to deal with it, but this is a reality, and the mainstream media don't even cover it. So if you've been wondering, wow, how come the mainstream media don't cover this? How come they're constantly carrying on in a negative way? I remember seeing several articles where different writers said, "Oh, Trump should just quit." What the heck? Why doesn't Hillary quit? Why don't they quit? I mean, it's so biased. It's so blatantly biased. So if you're, not watching alternative media like, InfoWars or Town Hall and these different sites, the Drudge Report, where you can actually find out what's going on, then you're not even going to know what's going on. You're being fed a bunch of misleading information. And I was also thinking about these so-called polls. I was wondering, when I talk to people in Virginia, I talk to people in West Virginia, many people say they don't know who they're going to vote for. But I look at the polls and they say, usually there's, this percentage for Trump, this percentage for Clinton, this percentage for, Jill Stein or Gary Johnson. And then there's like no undecided percentage. And I'm kind of thinking, gosh, when I talk to people, many people are undecided. So I think this is a lot of malarkey. Also, they're oversampling Democrats. Also, it's incredibly, tilted, even though polls are coming out saying Trump's ahead. They don't publicize that. So, like I said in the quote today, effectively, as Father Moon said, the fourth and fifth estates are, the media is a fourth estate, but really there's a fifth estate too. The banking system, the people who are pumping money. And Hillary Clinton has taken huge amounts of money from foreign governments. That's not legal for a campaign, but she's found a way to do it through the Clinton Foundation. This incredibly corrupt, evil, satanic woman. Yes, satanic. I mean, who would be involved with the things like her husband is involved with and her campaign chairman is involved with? Having children for entertainment, having the guy displays so-called art of naked children in his home. The guy goes to satanic ritual so-called dinners, which aren't really dinners. They're bizarre rituals. I mean, good gracious. So this really is a battle. It's not just presidential candidates. It really is good versus evil. It's really God versus Satan. Trump is not a perfect man, but he's trying to liberate the people. This is about liberating you and me from this web of deceit. And, Hillary Clinton's about further enslavement of the people. The people suffering under this false regime, all this regulations and, all this, religious persecution, all these things that are coming up now. And the time-honored things like the family is tossed out the window. Not just tossed out the window, but is aggressively opposed and attacked. So the stakes are extremely high in this election. So, I mean, I hope you'll think about those things. And when you go to make your vote on Tuesday, November 8th, then make sure you do get out and vote. I predict that there's going to be a Trump landslide because these undecided voters, I believe, are going to vote for Trump, and I pray that they do. And I urge you to get out and vote your conscience, because there is so much at stake. It is a battle of good versus evil, of God versus Satan. And the person on the good side is Mr. Trump, just like King Cyrus was used to liberate the Jews, you know, in the Old Testament times. He's a man who God is using. So, do watch my videos, do research more, do realize this is a battle of good and evil, and do get out and vote. Ask all your friends to vote. Don't let anything stop you or intimidate you from voting. I'm very glad to have brought you this series of 7 videos. This is the 7th one, including my introductory one, 8 videos on the presidential elections. I hope you found them helpful. I look forward to working with you to make this world a place that we can all have a safe and good place for our families, for our children. So I ask you to get out and vote. There's a clear choice between Mr. Donald Trump on the side of goodness, Hillary Clinton on the side of evil and Satan. Yes, I said that, evil and Satan. That's who the woman's side is on. If you don't believe me, check out the things I've already said, like about her campaign manager, her husband, and herself, all the entrapment with all these bizarre satanic rituals, child pornography, and everything else. I believe that all is going to come out more and more, and it's coming out right now. You can research it yourself online. So thank you for listening. Be blessed. We'll see you at the polls. This is Richard Urban reporting from historic Harpersferry, West Virginia. Good night.